Alabama hosted their first junior day event under head coach Kalen DeBoer on Saturday. They had in-state prospects, recruits from the West Coast, Northeast, other teams' commitments. They were all in Tuscaloosa, and I got Bama insider Andrew Bone on to break this one down. It was a pivotal event for the staff as a month-long dead period begins Monday. Well, that's today, so we're in the dead period. All right, we're going to get into it, but first, Bama fans, hit subscribe for me to the On3 Recruits page. All recruiting, all the time, and we need Alabama fans to be a part of it. Hit subscribe for me, please. All right. Let's bring on Andrew Bone from BamaOnline. Now we're going to talk about some big names on campus that include Jordan Young, Anthony Rogers, Derek Smith, Marcus Harris, and Antonio Coleman. I want to start with Jordan Young. He's number 53 overall in America, and he came to Tuscaloosa from North Carolina. So he made the trip over, and he's 6 foot 170, listed as an athlete. Ready to narrow that list down to a top 6 here real soon. Schools like him both on offense and defense. What do you think Alabama sees him at this early in the recruitment process?
Well, I think they see him as an athlete, but also I think that defensive back probably is an area that they really like him. But he's also one of the best. As we said, he's an athlete. He's the number one athlete in the country. So I think Alabama would love to see him in camp this summer. Not saying he has to camp to have a committable offer, but you get him to camp, see what he can do, or at least evaluate him during spring practice and say, this is a kid that could be a dynamic slot weapon for us in Kalen DeBoer's offense, or does he potentially play a cornerback? I mean, this is a kid that can do it all. Certainly a guy that Alabama really likes a lot. He already kind of said that Jordan Young said that Alabama was his dream school growing up. They would certainly make his top 3, top 4. So when he makes that top 6 list, we certainly expect Alabama to make the cut. But it looks like he had a great trip to Tuscaloosa this past weekend. Good to get him on campus kind of right away. I mean, this was Alabama's first really big event under Coach Kalen DeBoer, 3 weeks in. And, they had 50-plus prospects on campus, including some players ranked number 1 in their position, like Jordan Young.
Yeah, some big names. And now we're going to move down the list a little bit to number 77 overall. And thankfully, he's already committed to Alabama. I'm talking about running back Anthony Rogers. So, Andrew, after this visit, first of all, this was, I believe, his first trip to campus to meet Kalen DeBoer in person. How solid is his commitment? And is he somebody that can help Alabama recruit moving forward?
Well, I think he's a lot more solid than he probably was maybe even a week ago. I think there were still some questions because he had never met Coach DeBoer. I think one of the biggest things is Coach Robert Gillespie, the running backs coach, still in Tuscaloosa, not leaving, remains on the staff. So, that was a big key for them. But, Anthony wanted to sit down with the new staff, talk to them, kind of make sure that, he's still fitting their plans moving forward, and he does. This is a kid that, played at IMG Academy this past season after transferring from Pike Road High School in Alabama. So he's basically an in-state kid for the state of Alabama and for the University of Alabama. I think that he is a little bit more solid now. Will he take some more visits? Probably so. I think all kids now take as many trips as they possibly can. But Anthony seems like he's going to be solid. He seems like he's going to be a big help on the recruiting front. And based on the comments that we have from him on BamaOnline right now, it certainly sounds like the visit helped Crimson Tide and this new staff out a lot with Anthony Rogers, kind of really shore things up with his commitment status.
All right, the next prospect on the list is ranked number 89 overall, so we're still in that top 100. From Selma, Alabama, we're talking about Derek Smith. He's an athlete as well, 6 foot 185. Now, FSU and Auburn already got him on campus this weekend, though. It was Alabama. I think he'll probably take trips to LSU and Ole Miss. And again, Andrew, what position does Bama like this athlete at, and what are your sources saying about chances of landing him?
Yeah, another kid that could play on either side of the ball, and I think that it's really kind of up to him right now. And we've seen a lot of top athletes come to Alabama throughout the years. Especially during the Saban years, whether it was Cyrus Jones, Trevon Diggs, or Darius Stewart. These were guys that were recruited as athletes, but they were going to see him in practice first, playing that wide receiver, playing in the secondary. Which one, did they feel like they could really succeed at? And that was where they were going to, ultimately play. Now with Derek Smith, mean, he is wide open. I mean, this is a guy that had, I think, over 2,000 all-purpose yards as a junior on the offensive side of the ball, and then he had close to 100 tackles on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, he's a do-it-all athlete, and I think getting him on campus was really important for Alabama because he doesn't do a lot of visits. He's starting to take more visits now, but he's always had this really quiet, under the radar recruitment. He's taken some visits throughout the year, but nobody really knows exactly which way he's leaning. But Alabama, under this new staff, has really prioritized him. Already seen him twice over the course of the last couple of weeks, and then getting him on campus really big. So getting that relationship started off to a great start. We'll kind of have to see how it develops over these next few months. But I think Alabama certainly has made a big move with Derek Smith. As we head into, I guess we are into the dead period, but going into the spring, Alabama is certainly one of those top 3 schools for him.
Yeah, and speaking of making an impact, wide receiver Marcus Harris from Mater Dei High School out in California was on campus, number 98 overall, and it was a productive visit for him. He picked up an offer while in Tuscaloosa. What kind of impact did that make on his recruitment?
I think he's very interested in Alabama. He had a previous relationship with the Washington staff, and they quickly extended him an offer when they joined the Crimson Tide, and they want to continue that pipeline from Mater Dei to Tuscaloosa, which has been incredibly beneficial for Alabama throughout the last several years with guys like Bryce Young, and even this year's recruiting class with Zabian Brown. Damani Jackson transferred in. He's a Mater Dei guy. So, Alabama would love to continue to recruit that school extremely well. And they've got connections there on the West Coast. And I think he had a great visit. We have an in-depth interview with him at BamaOnline.com right now, where he really talked about just the overall program, the production at the wide receiver position, the relationship with new wide receivers coach Marcus Shepard. He talked about meeting with offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb. So he plans on getting back to Tuscaloosa this spring, maybe even during the summer. So it's still somewhat of a new relationship, but there is high interest there. And I think pretty much any wide receiver in the country is going to be very interested in this offense. They had some great wide receivers on campus this weekend.
All right. Now, the last name I want to talk about is probably the most intriguing one to me. Antonio Coleman, former Alabama defensive line commit, flips to Auburn in December and is back in Tuscaloosa this weekend. He's from Saraland High School. Now, what do you make of him attending this weekend's Junior Day?
I thought it was big for Alabama to get him on campus because he had a surprise flip from Alabama to Auburn back in mid-December. This wasn't one of those situations where he flipped to Auburn after Nick Saban retired. He flipped to Auburn before the Rose Bowl game, and it was kind of unexpected on both sides. So getting him back on campus to meet with the new staff, especially Freddie Roach, still being the defensive line coach at Alabama, still going to be recruiting him, still being there. I thought that was really good for the Crimson Tide to have him on campus. But one thing that we're also watching is Auburn just lost its defensive line coach to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So how much of an impact will that have on Antonio over the course of the next few months? I think obviously this is a new relationship with Coach Kalen DeBoer, but he still knows some familiar faces. Plus his teammate Ryan Williams is going to sign with Alabama on Wednesday. So we know that Ryan's a big recruiter. He's going to be recruiting Antonio for the next several months. So we'll see if that has any benefits. But I do think that getting him on campus was a good step in the right direction to at least getting that interest back. I don't know if he's going to flip, but at least getting that interest level and getting him somewhat intrigued with this new staff is really positive.
Yeah, well, getting him on campus this early in the cycle can't hurt. You know the formula. Just get him on campus again in the spring, again in the summer, then in the fall, and go for that late flip. We'll see what happens. Now, Andrew, I wanted to talk to you about that dead period. Like we said, it runs until about March 4th or 5th, so it's a full month. Is this a much-needed break for Alabama coaching staff, or was the momentum finally starting to turn and things were actually going their way, and maybe this isn't a needed break?
I mean, I think it's a needed break for everybody. I mean, it's been pretty wild since Nick Saban's retirement. Tim Watts and I were talking the other day about how we were, just kind of counting down the end of the transfer portal season, and then all of a sudden Nick Saban retires, and that 30-day window opened back up. We had all the the decommitments, recommitments, and stuff like that. But now you get a coaching staff in here that as soon as they pretty much arrived, they were all out on the road trying to recruit and trying to help settle down any of the current players from potentially transferring. And I thought they did a pretty good job for the most part in that regard. Now you kind of get to sit down, get to move your family to Tuscaloosa. You get to kind of get an idea of what the city of Tuscaloosa is about, but also you get to sit down at the facility, sit down in film room, start breaking down different players that you are going to be recruiting over the course of the next few months. Now, we saw a lot of offers that have been extended. A lot of those offers are still kind of contingent on if more evaluation, evaluation on and off the field, not just on the field. So you got to look at academics and stuff like that. But there's going to be a lot of evaluating that's going to be happening over the course of this next month, trying to figure out who they want to bring in, for spring practices, for the A-Day game. Coaching staff's going to get their recruiting territories situated over the course of this next month. So it's a much needed break, but you can guarantee those guys are going to be working every single day.
All right. Well, Alabama hosts their first junior day under Kalen DeBoer. It goes excellent, and you guys did a great job covering it. You guys have interviewed over a dozen prospects coming out of this thing. Go check it all out on BamaOnline. Andrew Bone, thanks for dropping by the Inside Scoop today.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that content, be sure to subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We have a new page dedicated only to recruiting. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now.